So today, my job is just going to be to open up the front of the bulwarks and look into cutting out the rotted decking that was above the chain locker, like basically part of the chain locker. We're going to cut back a little bit further and have a better look at the bulwarks and see what we're going to need to replace and what we can save.
I'm Taryn, this is Logan, and this is Max. Our life rarely goes as planned, and this story is no different. But we are determined to rebuild our beautiful steel boat, even stronger than she was before. And we're bringing you along with us.
So I just have to cut off the stanchion bases. I'm probably only going to come back here somewhere. There's a big rotten spot here, so I'd like to see what this looks like back here. So I might cut that far back. And then on this side, obviously I've cut a chunk out here the other day just to see what was in there. Lots of scale and shit. But, so I've got to do that on this side as well. And there's points all along here where it was filled with fluid film to stop it from rusting. And what we noticed over the summer was this is happening. So the fluid film's actually coming out through holes in here like this. See, it's all greasy and wet and running down everywhere, making a mess. So we'll try and fix all that stuff. But yeah, what I did yesterday, we went and picked up this fancy saw blade. And I had to actually put this saw together. It was in pieces. And today I think I'm going to modify it by chopping off this guy here so we can get it flush to the deck. Oh, of course if I held the camera right, that'd be better. So basically we're gonna chop off the bit of this guide so that we can get it closer to the deck here. And cut off the inside of that bulwarks. That's the plan anyways. Let's see how it goes.
After using the grinding disc for the first section of the bulwarks, we decided to buy a couple of metal cutting saw blades in hopes that they would speed up the process and we wouldn't go through as many of them as we did discs. The blades worked well, but not for very long.
The shitty rock brand didn't last more than a couple of shortcuts, so going with a slightly better brand, but it's going to require a lot of brakes for cooling down, and yeah, just hopefully I can get this to work. This is 3/4 of an inch smaller in diameter, so it should, in theory, spin slower on the outer bit of it. We'll see. I'm just trying to save money on buying the saw. To buy the proper saw to do this with a proper metal blade, about $500, $600. So money we don't have to spend on this. So anyways, let's give this one a try, see what happens. Okay, so I just fixed this guy. I repaired the needle scaler attachment for my air hammer. So I had to weld the hammer part of it back together. And I put it on my other air hammer because the one it was on, the whole end of it broke off. So there it is there. There's the attachment. There's the air hammer. The other one, this whole piece broke off here. So, and inside here there's a hammer that slides and hits the end of the needle. So I had to weld the shaft back onto the hammer head. Anyways, and this is what it ends up doing. So we have to needle all this to check the condition and thickness of the steel down here. And on the deck, you can see it's a bit rusty, a bit rough looking, but that's what it looks like before. So you can't really see, and honestly it's a lot better shape than I thought it was gonna be. But this is part of the bulwarks we weren't having problems with. It'll be interesting to see further down the line where there was actually holes. And yeah, I'm glad we're doing this because I don't want there to be any question about how solid the boat is. And then you see little bits like that, and that looks pretty suspect. I think that's actually epoxy. So there must have been a hole there at some point. Well, I'll hit it with the needler and see how it goes. So I'm sure you can see that. That is a hole. So it gives us a basic idea of how thick this is. And if we need to cut this out or not. This is all plenty thick here. Obviously there's some holes that should be filled. But right in here, this little piece here is pretty thin. It's hard to catch it on camera. So we have a decision to make. Once I get this cleaned up, whether we're just going to cut the entire thing off, which would actually be a shame to do, or whether we're just going to replace some sections. I mean, to cut the entire thing off and start again is going to be really tough because it involves removing a lot of the interior. But we obviously can't leave it like in this kind of shape, so we will have to make that decision pretty soon here.
So the next steps are to try to cut off the starboard side the same way that Logan's already done the port side of the bulwarks. And then we get to cut out the deck and try to decide on our final design for the new chain locker. So we're going to move the windlass somewhere else. We're going to rebuild the door and the shape of the door, and we're not 100% positive how we're going to do that, but we think we have a general idea of how that's going to look. So we'll show you guys that. Yeah, we polyed a bunch of the deck, so we covered it in plastic and taped it so that we wouldn't get sparks or anything on the windows or the deck where we don't want to repaint. So that should also keep things cleaner, so that's nice. And it actually somehow made the cabin brighter. Figure that out. You put a piece of plastic on top of it and somehow it gets brighter inside. But anyway, that's what's up.
Okay, well, we cut off the bulwarks, and this is the piece I cut off yesterday. So this is the inside. And through the top of it, there's screws and bolts and just like a whole bunch of different screws. I guess it had a teak toe rail that was bolted to it or screwed to it. And anywhere you have places oxygen can get in, you get rust. So we know why it's rotted now, for sure. Even if it was sealed over with epoxy and stuff, like you get little cracks in it or whatever, and it lets in air.
And who knows how long it was exposed to air before they epoxied it.
Yeah. So.
Can you tilt it a little bit this way? Yeah. Hold it there.
Ground this back here just to take the little bit of surface off of it, and I'm looking, and like this is 4 mils thick. A lot of this pitting here is like 1 millimeter or less.
So it'd be easy to re-weld it.
No, I'm just saying, like, if we open up a section back, you know, 8 feet or 10 feet, and it's all like this, I don't think there's a reason why we couldn't just leave this, unless cutting it off and replacing it is going to be, it's going to be cheaper, but I don't know if it's going to be easier than fairing this all.
Right.
Right? And like, look at the deck here. There's a few bigger pits, but other than that, like, and they're not that bad.
No, you could spot weld that.
Like, we could spot weld these. They're bad enough to do, but the rest of this, I think we'll just fair it in.
Right. Yeah.
We'll blast it. We'll get it all good and clean, and paint it and fair it. I think that's going to be what we'll do here. I mean, there's a couple of bigger pits up here, but we're going to cut this out anyways.
We couldn't make much more of a decision about our next bulwarks steps until the chain locker was done, though. So once the bulwarks were cut back to just past the chain locker, it was time to go back to cutting out the deck plates. But we will get into that next week. Thanks for watching and joining us. We love sharing these adventures with you.